All right. So welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. We're going to be doing another deep dive. And this time, we're going to be talking about removing obstacles to faith. And this comes from a sermon by the same name, Remove the Stone.
Right.
And it's a really fascinating look at how we can overcome the things that are, kind of holding us back in our relationship with God.
Absolutely.
But, one of the things that really struck me about this whole idea of, removing the stone is that it's not just about, like this instant miraculous, fix.
Right.
It's not just about God like snapping his fingers and, suddenly everything is better. There's this real element of collaboration.
Yeah.
Of working with Jesus to remove these obstacles. And I thought that was really, really intriguing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this whole, remove the stone sermon, is that the central metaphor, like when we talk about the stone, we're really talking about anything that is blocking your connection with God. So it could be doubt, it could be fear, it could be past hurts, it could be any number of things that are holding you back in your relationship with God.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me that, Jesus, even with all of his power,
right,
he doesn't just zap those stones away, right? Like he chooses to work with people to move them.
Yeah.
And I'm just really curious, like, why do you think he chooses that path? Like, why not just, get rid of it for everybody all at once?
Well, I think it really goes back to this idea of partnership. It's this idea that God desires to partner with us in our faith journey. Mm-hmm. That, it's not this passive thing where we just sit back and wait for God to, bless us or do things for us.
Yeah.
But rather, we're called to actively participate in our spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And to work alongside Jesus to overcome these challenges. So I think it's less about, God, just doing everything for us. Right. And more about God empowering us to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more about like giving us the strength and the tools that we need to remove the stone ourselves.
Yeah.
Rather than just doing it for us.
Exactly. And what's so cool about that is that, the sermon is just full of examples of this.
Yeah.
Of this kind of collaborative miracle, right? One of my favorite stories is the paralytic man.
Oh, yeah.
Who's lowered through the roof by his friends.
That's a great one.
Yeah. And, Jesus sees their faith and he heals the man. But it was their initiative that got him there in the first place.
Yeah, they were the ones who were willing to put in the effort.
Right. Yeah.
To make it happen. And and I think that's such a powerful message for us today.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to just sit back and think like, okay, well, God's going to take care of everything.
Right.
But that's not really how it works. Like, we have a role to play too. So how do we put this into practice? Mm-hmm. Like, if we want to remove the stones in our own lives, how do we even figure out what those stones are? What are our personal stones?
Well, I think it starts with honest self-reflection.
Okay.
So, really taking some time to ask yourself, what's causing distance between me and God? What are the things that I'm holding on to that are preventing me from experiencing his love and grace fully?
Okay.
Right. And once you identify those obstacles, you can start to work with God to overcome them.
So it's a two-way street. It's not just about us asking God to fix things.
Absolutely.
But it's also about us being willing to do the work on our end.
Absolutely. It's about, being willing to meet God halfway. I think another great example of that is the woman with the issue of blood.
Oh, yeah.
Right. She suffered for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
But she was determined to reach Jesus. She pushed through the crowds. Mm-hmm. She was full of faith that even just touching his garment would heal her.
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah.
And so, I think it's really cool to see that, it was her faith combined with Jesus's power that resulted in her miracle.
Yeah. It's like, by working with us, it strengthens our faith.
Exactly.
Because we're actively involved in the process.
Exactly. It deepens our understanding of God's power, but also our own potential.
Yeah.
And this idea of partnership with Jesus, it's not a new concept. If you look back, even in the early church, theologians were debating the extent of human free will versus divine grace. Mm. And, this sermon really reminds us that it's not an either-or. It's a both hand.
Yeah.
It's this beautiful interplay of both.
Yeah, I love that. So just to kind of recap, what we've talked about today, obstacles to faith. they're a part of life. Everybody faces them.
Right.
But we're not alone in facing them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a powerful partner in Jesus.
Absolutely.
And he's ready and willing to work with us to overcome those obstacles.
And, just a final thought to leave you with.
If Jesus is willing to meet us where we are, to work with us, in removing these obstacles, just imagine the kind of strength and depth that partnership can bring. How might that change your approach to the challenges that you face in your own faith?
That's a great question. Really something to think about.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Take care.